Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Hello to new subscribers and anyone looking for information on reality creation and how our thoughts become things, how Neville Goddard was an ancient mystic who had learned from another mystic called Abdullah from Nigeria, who had given him the information, the downloads, and then he was able to, vocalize and speak about it to audiences and to people, which I'm learning to do myself. It's a whole process, and I've had to go through my own experiences and journey to get here today to be able to speak about the power of awareness and intention and imagination is our God self, our how we imagine the world is how we see it and how we embody it, and that everything is happening through us, for us, as us. And this is becoming a whole thing in itself. And I'm grateful for uh, getting in touch and tuned with this information. And I look forward to continue sharing this with you all. So thanks for being here. I am now going to share the screen over here and go to chapter 7, which is attitude. So I'm going to be learning a lot about this as well. I also have my power shake here with all kinds of goodness and amino acids, which I haven't taken yet today. But all this to say that I'm helping myself be my best version. I'm doing intermittent fasting right now. It's springtime. I just did a detox. So if ever you're interested in this, I do coaching, detox. I can assist you with that. I'm going to put my contact down below. And this is how I continue to do what I love and share and empower myself and empower others at the same time. That's what it's all about. Boot, boot. All right. Attitude. Let's go. Experiments recently conducted by Merle Lawrence and Adelbert Ames in the Latter's Psychology Laboratory in New Hampshire prove that what you see when you look at something depends not so much on what is there as on the assumption you make when you look. Since what we believe to be real, physical world is actually only an assumptive world, it is not surprising that these experiments prove that what appears to be solid reality is actually the result of expectations or assumptions. Now, this gets really interesting in so many ways. Whew. I mean, everyone knows in a family that people have different memories of things that took place. I just experimented with this on the weekend, being with my family. And it's really something, how memory can be selective or even creative, how the imagination can create things that didn't even exist, but for somebody they did. And so whew, that's a crazy one. So again, trying to be all on the same page in a world where everybody is perceiving reality through their own lens of perception is not such an easy thing. So what is happening more and more is the realization that we are the creators of our reality as we assume so it is. And yes, we are collectively sharing a consciousness, and yet we are individuals within that. So learning about this is fascinating to me, and I do get that we are one. I the law of one, and I also get that we need to individualize our essence to consolidate the energy and not always be pulled and blend. It's kind of like purifying your own color in a way, like instead of mixing several colors. If you're an artist, a painter, you get a blend. But if you want a pure color, well, you're not going to mix it with others. You're going to use the pure color. So sorry, my cat is really wanting to come in here. She's going a little cuckoo. If you hear scratching at the door, I'm going to go take care of that in just a few minutes. So since what we believe to be real physical world is only an assumptive world, it is not surprising that these experiences prove your assumptions determine not only what you see, but also what you do, for they govern all your conscious and subconscious movements towards the fulfillment of themselves. Over a century ago, this truth was stated by Emerson as follows: as the world was plastic and fluid in the hands of God, so it is ever to so much of his attributes as we bring to it. To ignorance and sin, it is flint. They adapt themselves to it as they may. But in proportion as a man has anything in him divine, the firmament flows before him and takes his signet and form. So again, the activation of our divine essence, of our soul connection, of our awareness, our presence, our enlightenment, all of these things happen through us. And that's when we become more and more divine, and we start to trust our inner voice of reason, of decision making, of alignment with the heart. That's a whole thing that I teach also on my YouTube channel. There's a lot of videos about that, heart mind coherence, all of that stuff, the Kundalini, the Christ consciousness. Yeah. So your assumption is the hand of God molding the firmament into the image of that which you assume. The assumption of the wish fulfilled is the high tide which lifts you easily off the bar of the senses where you have so long lain stranded. It lifts the mind into prophecy in the full right sense of the word. And if you have that controlled imagination and absorbed attention, which it is possible to attain, you may be sure that all of your assumption implies will come to pass. Imagine how powerful oh my God, my cats. How powerful we are. And yet we were never taught this, of course, because, that would be a whole other reality. But this is why I feel a strong pull towards sharing this, because I realize how powerful it is, and how important it is for us to be using our intuition, discernment, and our divinity as we claim our sovereignty in reality. So when William Blake wrote, "What seems to be is to those to whom it seems to be," he was only repeating the eternal truth. There is nothing unclean of itself, but to him that esteemeth anything to be unclean, to him it is unclean. Again, judgment, what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong. This is the fall, the tree of good and evil and all that, which is in the scriptures, Romans 14:14 here. Because there is nothing unclean of itself or clean of itself, you should assume the best and think only of that which is lovely and of good report. It is not superior insight, but ignorance of this law of assumption if you read into the greatness of men some littleness with which you may be familiar, or into some situation or circumstance an unfavorable conviction. Your particular relationship to another influences your assumption with respect to that other and makes you see in him that which you do see. If you can change your opinion of another, then what you now believe of him cannot be absolutely true, but is only relatively true. The following is an actual case history illustrating how the law of assumption works. So I've also learned this through the teachings of the Essenes. The Essenes were the tribe that Jesus was part of, these highly spiritual people that were tuning in the Gnostics, I guess you could say, the knowing from within, knowing through your own experience, the God essence of yourself versus the, systems, the Roman Empire and everything that's about, like today, the Vatican and any other religion that people still believe and give their power to and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I don't want to get into that. But the thing is, everything's relatively true when you really believe it. I used to believe the whole climate change thing, that we were the ones causing it, until I got new information that showed me that we are in a cosmic cycle. The sun is, the electromagnetic frequency is changing on all planets are warming up in our solar system. And that a lot of things have been hidden from us and is there to serve a specific agenda of people who've been in control and power for a long time. They want to keep the control and the power. And the thing is, I don't know, everybody's got to make their reality within a certain reality. And most people don't want to look at any other possibility than what they're being told to consume on the propaganda machine. But go ahead, I mean, I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying that there's alternative realities. The following is an actual case, so let's see what the case is. One day, a costume designer described to me her difficulties in working with a prominent theatrical producer. She was convinced that he unjustly criticized and rejected her best work, and that often he was deliberately rude and unfair to her. Upon hearing her story, I explained that if she found the other rude and unfair, it was a sure sign that she herself was wanting, and that it was not the producer, but herself that was in need of a new attitude. I told her that the power of this law of assumption and its practical application could be discovered only through experience, and that only by assuming that the situation was already what she wanted it to be, could she prove that she could bring about the change desired. Her employer was merely bearing witness, telling her by his behavior what her concept of him was. I suggested that it was quite probable that she was carrying on conversations with him in her mind, which were filled with criticism and recriminations. There was no doubt but that she was mentally arguing with the producer, for others only echo that which we whisper to them in secret. I asked her if it was not true that she talked to him mentally, and if so, what those conversations were like. She confessed that every morning on her way to the theater, she told him just what she thought of him in a way she would never have dared address him in person. The intensity and force of her mental arguments with him automatically established his behavior towards her. She began to realize that all of us carry on mental conversations, but unfortunately, on most occasions, these conversations are argumentative, that we have only to observe the passerby on the street to prove this assertion, that so many people are mentally engrossed in conversation and few appear to be happy about it. But the very intensity of their feeling must lead them quickly to the unpleasant incident they themselves have mentally created, and therefore must now encounter. Whew, that's deep, isn't it? Imagine everybody taking full responsibility for their thoughts and realizing that they're causing interference or okay, let me just share this quick story that's coming through with my father, for example. I don't know if he's ever watching these, but the thing is, my father's convinced that every time he comes to my place, he gets lost, okay, and that his GPS just takes him on and it takes forever for him to get here, and he always hits traffic. No matter when he comes, he seems to hit the traffic. There's an accident or something happened, or I don't know, construction, or which is very common out here. But and when I go to his place, I never have any problem. I go straight there. There's no traffic. I arrive at the time that my GPS says, and that's it. So, and the thing is, I tell myself everything is always flowing. I never have those problems. So we've had this conversation a few times, and I just tell him, why don't you try projecting that you're going to get to just like I get to your place. There's no traffic, no problem. You're going to get there on time and all of that, because in his mind, it's just, that's the scenario. So that's one example, but there's so many of these, and I'm sure you've also maybe experienced this. And to be 100% honest, I just experienced this with someone in my own reality where we were not talking for a long time, and I was sending out love, and I was saying, I hope we can forgive each other. I hope we can move on and, make peace. And I really want to feel just peace in my heart. I don't want to have, and the Native Americans always said this, peace with all my relations. Very important for us when we leave to be at peace with all our relations. So something you can do. Now, whether they respond or not, that's a whole other thing. I'm not gonna get into that. But often, like this just happened to me, I got a message and from the person that I had just done this with. And so of course things start to move faster as well when your own frequency is faster. Everything is going faster and faster. So you have to become hyper aware of what you're thinking, of what you actually want versus what you don't want. Very important. This is, you know, the path of mastery. When you're on this path, you have to become very, very aware of everything that you're saying and doing, and because you're gonna quickly get the bounce back or the karma, whatever you want to call it. So so yeah, I'm grateful that and whatever's going to come out of that, at least there is more peace. And we can't have peace in our world if we don't have peace in our relations, first of all with ourselves, loving ourselves, honoring ourselves, and knowing that, you know what, the more I look at myself and I say, wow, I'm so beautiful, I'm so radiant, I'm so filled with light, I'm so filled with love, I'm so, well, you know what, it's happening. It's happening. So again, reality is malleable. This is something that we're beginning to understand, and it's changing the whole paradigm. So it's very, very interesting. And again, I love to keep learning and sharing. And so that's what I'm doing as I continue. So to do this, she agreed that before going to sleep at night on her way to work and other intervals during the day, she would imagine that he had congratulated her on her fine designs and that she in turn had thanked him for his praise and kindness. And to her great delight, she soon discovered for herself that her own attitude was the cause of all that befell her. The behavior of her employer miraculously reversed itself, his attitude, echoing as it had always done that which she had assumed, now reflected her changed concept of him. What she did was, by the power of her imagination, her persistent assumption. Okay, so this is important, persistent assumption. This has come up for me as well, because I realized that for so many times in my life, things did not happen that way, and people did not change because I was imagining them in a good way. And it was like, oh no, not again and again and again. And I was like, what's going on here? This isn't actually working. Persistence, something that some of us lack, because yeah, you can move on to other things, you can, you know, and so persistence is key in anything. And I'm finally learning this as well, you know, that one thing, although I can't work on one thing, I have to have maybe 3 things, but definitely if you have 12 things going on, none of them are actually really able to you know, come to fruition, to come to the goal or whatever. You just drop one, pick up another. And I have been learning to do that because it's in my nature to want to understand everything at every level in all these different subjects, because they all interrelate with each other, which is the holistic part: mind, body, spirit, you know, emotional, physical, mental, spiritual way of understanding reality. So that's a lot of different elements to embody. The thing is, with embodiment, it's not on the mental realm anymore. It's something you come to know. It's not just knowledge, it's wisdom, embodied wisdom. So this is what I am always focused on sharing. I don't want to share things that I am not embodying, or I have not explored or experienced, or I'm exploring right now, because that to me is not authentic, and it's not wisdom, it's knowledge, and there's tons of that out there. No right or wrong, just different parts of the journey, different teachers, different students, different levels. So what she did was, by the power of her imagination, with the passport of desire on the wings of a controlled imagination, she traveled into the future of her own predetermined experience. Thus, we see it is not facts, but that which we create in our imagination, which shapes our lives. For most of the conflicts of the day are due to the want of a little imagination to cast the beam out of our own eye. That's in the Bible as well. It is the exact and literal minded who live in a fictitious world. Yes, when somebody says it's like that and nothing else, and you know there's like 5 different ways of doing something, let's say, and they're convinced it's the only way, and you're like, okay, fine, whatever, you know. That's the ego and people that cannot bend. They just don't, that's it. And, you know, it might work for them, and that's okay. Sometimes that's necessary too. As this designer, by her controlled imagination, started the subtle change in her employer's mind, so can we, by the control of our imagination and wisely directed feeling, solve our problems. By the intensity of her imagination and feeling, the designer cast a kind of enchantment on her producer's mind and caused him to think that his generous praise originated with him. Often our most elaborate and original thoughts are determined by another. We should never be certain that it was not some woman treading in the winepress who began that subtle change in men's mind, or that the passion did not begin in the mind of some shepherd boy lighting up his eyes for a moment before it ran upon its way. William Butler Yeats. Yeah, I love these romantics and these poets, and I used to read all of them back in the day. I might pick up another one like Wordsworth and Yeats, and because they were, again, mystical in their poetic way of interpreting the world, of sharing. And I love doing that with painting as well. So anything that brings you that creative joy of sharing with others, your perspective, your unique perspective, that's something that we can all enjoy and participate in, whether it's being the observer or being the creator, and sharing in others in your life too, not just what you do and create, but with other friends, other people that you feel a connection with. It's so much fun. So I'm going to stop here and I'll do the next chapter tomorrow. Thanks for being here. Take care, everyone, and give yourself that love, that support, and know that there's no right or wrong. There's only your choices. As long as you're not hurting other people, if you can stay in the love frequency, the joy frequency, you're going to have those external realities happening and a lot of magic happening. Trust me, it's happening in my own life, and I'm excited like a child waking up in the morning being like, oh, what's going to happen today? And so keep going, keep flowing, and believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, and life gets better and better. Bye.